Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back here to Big Obel Media for another recap of House of the Dragon, where tonight we're going to be talking about episode 5. We have crossed the halfway point of this 8-episode season, and it's definitely been a season for sure. After everything that happened last episode, I knew this episode was going to have to simmer down just a little bit, but there's definitely a lot to talk about and cover with tonight's episode. Stevie and I are ready to break it all down. So, as we always like to do in the beginning, we give our review, just our thoughts. Maybe, I don't know, did we come up with a numbering system, a grade system? I don't know. I don't care. Let's just talk about our overall thoughts about the episode, and you can start first, my friend.
I thought it was really good. Again, I feel like I haven't seen like a bad episode of this show. My gosh. and and I really like it. I like that it's slower. I think we need it. I think this episode was maybe a little bit longer too, if I'm not mistaken. And you need that type of stuff. And I thought that was really good, just so we could see the aftermath of what happened in the last episode, which was crazy. So overall, thought it was really, really good. There were some shots that were really good.
Yeah.
Some scenes were really good. So yeah, overall.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of storytelling in the cinematography. I'll talk about one in particular later on in the episode. But yeah, I enjoyed this one too. I think as a person who's more of a film and television person, this season has really, really, really piqued my interest in terms of getting to the books. And that is not a statement I have made in a long time. So I'm going to get through this season, and then I think I'm going to dive into it. And then, maybe when we come back for season 3, my takes of these recaps will be just a little different, since I'll have some reference to kind of rely on. But for what it's worth, like as a fan, I just enjoy the show. I know people like the war. I know people like the dragons. The CGI is always really beautiful in these. But I do love like the character development. There's a lot of that going in so many different directions right now. And I think if you even just took one character to just study throughout the entire season, I think there's just so much to talk about on that alone. So for us, we take an hour to cover a whole episode. I know we miss things, and I know we try to stick to the high points. So we always encourage you all, the viewers, to let us know in the comments or in the chat below your thoughts about the episode, things you like, things you want us to talk about, questions, theories, all that good stuff. Even the folks that read the books, the references back to it, we definitely appreciate that. It's a community here. Let's start off with the opening that I pretty much predicted was going to be the opening, because if there was anybody who was going to be affected by Rhaenys' death, it was going to be her boo. And we see him with nothing but emotions. And then we quickly pan to Rhaenyra, who's also showing emotions. Listen, shout out to everybody, because I'm telling you, there was a lot of love for Rhaenys on the internet. People was letting it be known she was a real one. I mean,
House of Dragon Twitter is so funny.
Man, I was just about to say that. Twitter is a funny place. But they showed love for my girl. She went out like a true G. There was also a lot of good commentary. A lot of the things we also talked about too, about the bond between the dragon and the rider. We talked about somebody had an amazing comment last week in terms of somebody saying that maybe they felt that she was trying to end the war before it got started. I can see that point. But I also think, to my point, to stand 10 toes down on my point, is that I also see that her more or less sacrifice was going to drive everyone together, was going to have people to kind of rethink their position in terms of Dragonstone and in their council. And then obviously now the big moment that we're still really waiting for is to see King Cor essentially become the hand to Rhaenyra, but not just the hand, but you have to almost consider him like the general, because if there's anybody qualified right now outside of Otto, it's him, and she needs it. And she has made it very clear that she needs it, because the fact that she's kind of repositioning her strategy, even to the point of her having to play fair with Sir Alfred,
Yeah.
Next you know, she
She
said it. I've
Mhm.
exploited all my options. What am I going to do? Knowing that she has a draw 4 in her hand with the king just sitting right there. Listen, I'm anticipating that, and I can't wait to see Monero Lionel amongst a whole
Me
bunch of
too.
things too.
Yes.
Listen, he coming through. His sons are about to play major dividends.
They really are. And honestly, all the other people that we have seen in the background, I already know there's at least like 4
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how, and I even said it to myself, like, and it's funny because even with us predicting sort of things and kind of understanding these characters who are getting screen time, we kind of assumed at some point it was going to get to this point. But the fact that how they've been writing this series, this series and this season thus far is like, it still has you sort of like tingly inside, like saying like, oh, they're building these back characters up, and they're going to change the game. And essentially they're going to win the war. And it's crazy and how fascinating it is that these characters who are getting 5 minutes each episodes, major time, even minor conflict in terms of like who they are or what they can do.
Yeah.
Realizing that they're going to be on the back of a dragon very soon. And shit is going down in King's Landing. You can cash that one at the bank right now. But
right.
it's very very cool for Rhaenys's death to really be the catapulting moment for all of that is to come. So what did you think about the opening here?
I thought it was really good, and it was well needed. Like I also assumed that you were gonna have that type of moment at the beginning too, because obviously it's gonna have a major effect on Rhaenyra. It's gonna have a major effect on Corlys, especially. So seeing that was good to see, and like you said, everything that happened with her death is kind of like catapulting everything how they're gonna proceed further with this. Yeah. So exciting stuff to see.
Yeah, Corlys, you're not off the hook. We got more to talk about you later, but we'll just land it there for right now. So we go to King's Landing, and this is a very interesting scene because I think as the viewer in me, I'm kind of like, oh, I wasn't expecting this, and I also started to think like, well, what would I do in this situation? But we hear the horns come through King's Landing, and that's because Sir Criston Cole, the Hand, is marching through, making people know that we have slain the dragon. The mighty Meleys head is there, and
Aegon slayed the dragon.
Aegon, that's right. I was just about to say, and Aegon is accredited for this death, which I'm thinking to myself like, okay, well, that's a lie, but everybody knows the truth here, so there's a little bit of like, okay. But when all that's happening, no one's cheering, and the commentary is loud. People's like, yeah, that ain't it, bro.
That's not good. Bad omen.
The bad omen. So Criston Cole's kind of like, hey, they do realize that we won the battle, right? And Gawain, so we see both of them are alive here, are like, yeah, but it's a strange victory. Sir Gawain's perspective of things and commentary is completely hilarious because under no circumstance do I feel like he's ever really, really serious. So he's always going to try to get like a funny little gesture in there. But he's right. It's a victory, but it's certainly strange. Like one, our king, like our king, and like we're bolstering up, like we won something. Like we got this small castle. Let's just call it what it is, and we lost the dragon. We lost men. We lost many men because. To the point that like even the cheetah head, we lost so many men. Criston Cole is kind of like he's not himself right now. He's not a man. He's not a man who is short of words, and he absolutely at any given point will lay down a plan. And now he's just kind of like, well, whatever Aemon says is kind of what I'm gonna do. A lot of people were burnt and it was bad, but nonetheless, yeah. The dragon head comes through, and we have a lot of commentary about that. One, again, as we said, like, bad omen. They said that they thought the dragon was gods, only to hear like, hey, they're just meat.
Yeah.
Aemon and Alicent looks on. Aemon looks completely unfazed. Alicent looks like, wait, what? As they both look on at this chariot, and the chariot was me with my Birdman hand rub, like, all right, we're about to get the fate of Aegon. Right here at this moment, did you think he was alive or did you think he was dead?
I knew he was alive. Like I there's no way you're gonna kill him off. And I haven't finished the book, so I don't know, a lot of things. But I had a feeling that he was still gonna be alive because I feel like when you kill off such like a main character of a story, like what if you're trying to kill them off, it wouldn't be so like uneventful, I guess, in a sense. Like they left it on a cliffhanger for a reason. And it was to show if he was alive or dead. But I had a total feeling he was alive.
I mean,
or half alive.
I was waiting for him. So for me, I'm like, all right, this can go one or two ways, obviously, because if he's alive, then it plays out how it played out. That's exactly what I thought. They keep it low key. They get him back to the chambers and they assess his wounds. But if he's dead, they also sneak him in because they are worried of the sort of the reaction from all of the King's Landing's folks about their mighty king going out there and dying. And Alicent had a lot of the same questions I would have had too. Like, okay, so what happened? But wait a minute, what was Aemon's whole like?
Because she knows.
Oh, 1,000. Oh, she knows. She's putting it together. Yep. But yeah, I was kind of still on the lines of like, I hope he's dead. Like let's just get this over with. And I just thought because the ramifications of it would have been so much more interesting, but they still handle it in a way. I mean, at this point now, like I said last week, they don't have a Vader suit for my guy. I don't see him getting up out of that bed. I think this is a wrap here for him. And I think that it's long-winded. I think maybe if he does wakes up, somebody else will have something else to say or do, because the reversal of Aemon's sort of reign right now, like what does that look like? Or do they come to the realization that we'd rather have Aegon because he's more of a pawn than Aemon, who is, young and a little of a hothead. I mean, he has Daemon's traits, except he's immature. So like the worst of the two evils here, So it's going to be interesting, which is why like I enjoy the writing of the shows, because that alone is a plot. Take away the dragons, take away, who's the true king or ruler. Like that alone in one kingdom is something you can stretch out our episodes about, is who is the rightful ruler in one location right now. And what happens if one wakes up? What does it mean? All that sorts of different stuff. So we'll see. The politics, exactly. Shout out to my girl Helena, because she was looking on and she gave 0 fucks.
She didn't know fucks given.
She was like, okay, I guess. But everybody saw where the chariot was going, so they already knew what it was. It's like, all right, well, Aegon's not walking around with his loud mouth. He must be in there. But they take the sword out, clean the sword, put the body on the bed. Alicent looks on. And we do get official word from the Grand Maester that he remains with us for the moment, and she's looking at the results of the war, all the flesh wounds, the burns, the armor broken. I mean, my man is beat up. His knee was broke. I think it was his kneecap.
It looked like his kneecap, but then also like his armor like fused to his skin. That was rough to watch. Like pulling it off, like. Like melted whatever.
And Alicent looks concerned as she walks on. Aemon looks over and says, yeah, somebody's gonna need to rule. And instead,
of course, he is the first one to say it. Does not care.
So my thoughts here is, considering the degree of his injury, do you think that Aemon might have been doing him a service from the suffering, or he think he was just trying to really streamline his way to his rule?
I feel like, if he was like a little bit more of like a better, maybe kinder, somewhat brother, I could see him putting him out of his misery. But I really feel like that he was doing it so he could have a clear I am king. Like, I'm gonna kill him because I want to be king. And I feel like he would have done it if Christian Cole never came by and was like, "What are you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's a mercy killing at all. Like,
Okay.
maybe a little bit. I don't know. I feel like nah. I feel like he just wanted to kill him.
What do you think about how this affects Christian Cole by being witness to that?
I feel like that he not only is he nervous about this war, because I feel like he's over encumbered by this now. After seeing the dragon in the first episode and realizing this isn't a normal war that you have fought in the past. Like, this is like some real stuff right now. Like, people are going to die. Like, I really feel like that he is siding with Aemon because he wants to be on the stronger side. I think he even mentioned it too. Like, this is no longer about, men. This is a war between dragons. And the dragon has to the one who has the dragon has to rule.
Yeah.
Basically. And I think that's why. I think he's siding with the stronger side because, I mean, if he doesn't, what else is he going to do?
Yeah, he made another interesting comment, but I'll say my thoughts about that a little bit later on. But yeah, speaking of Kristen Cole, so Kristen Cole and Allison, they have their conversation. She wants to know what happened. Kristen Cole, very short, is like, we took the castle, and he says, well, what about Aemon? What was his part in this? And he says, I cannot say. So to me, I'll just say to the question I threw to you, it's like, I felt like Kristen Cole and Aemon were on the same page. They had a plan. This plan was about them being able to get the castle. I think Kristen felt very underlying confused about Aemon's rogue plan to take Aegon out and how he didn't know anything about it but had to bear witness to it. And he's in the conflict of where does my loyalty lie? Because you are the hand. It should be with Aegon, but it seems like you may be a little bit more fearful of Aemon because, I mean, he has Vhagar, so like everybody's out here worried about my man pulling up with that. So it's conflicting. And then let's just go back a couple of pages that you were Team Alicent not that long ago, and you don't even have loyalty to her. So Kristen is absolutely top 5 most hated characters in all of television for me. This dude irks me, man.
Yeah, man. He really is. He got that Joffrey thing going on where people just hate him. Like, not in the same level as him.
Yeah.
But, like, that people are just hating him because he is the worst character right now on television.
Literally.
And you also see him turn on Alicent a little later, but we'll see that once we get to that point. So he's a little bit of a flip flopper,
Yeah, 1,000%. That don't like people like that on shows or in real life, but
right.
So Dragonstone now, as they said, we lost our largest dragon has been killed. And Sir Alfred is back at the table cooking it up because he always gonna have an opinion. But I as him and Rhaenyra have their conversation, he said, like, you're always willing to give a difference. I gotta say, I was definitely like, all right, Sir Alfred is definitely just combative for whatever reason. But I also think having somebody like him on your council is valuable because you need somebody who's going to have a different opinion. And that really is really cool. Also, if anybody doesn't know, Sir Alfred is played by Sir Alfred Beale. So my man is a sir through in and throughout. So this may be method acting, shall I just say?
Yeah, it might be.
But I gotta say, from last week to this week, I do appreciate him because I think you do need somebody who's going to give you some constructive criticism, especially in the pivotal time, and remove the sexism out of there because this is a different time, and optics is a major thing in these times. That women didn't rule, so there's a problem with that. And although King Viserys, like, she was clearly the next one up, and people do respect that because they respect him. But it isn't a measure of war, and that's been the conversation the entire episode. Is although we do like back you in there, but when it actually comes down to the war, it has to be Daemon out there. Daemon is the guy. He has to be the front person, and whether you agree with it or not, it's just what it is for these times. So I think that Sir Alfred being able to like really be in her ear is working in a positive way that we see later on in this episode, that they're starting to align each other on the same path and honestly growing trust. There was never an issue of loyalty, but it was a measure of trust and tactics here. And I think they're starting to get on the same page there.
Which is a good contrast from like last episode where I felt like they tried to paint him out to be more of like, it's not really an antagonist, but somebody who's like going against Rhaenyra all the time in the council. So it's like, it's good to see them come to an understanding at the end of it. And it makes sense, some of the comments he says just make sense because like when Rhaenyra doesn't really know, like I feel like she doesn't really know too much about how to deal with things in war, because I feel like she's never been in war, because she said her whole time it was under King Viserys' rule and it was all peace and there was never war. So this stuff is all new to her as well.
Don't think that that's exactly what it was said. I mean, you don't second guess yourself. That's exactly what it was said. He said, like, you see no more battles than I have because we had peace our whole lifetime there. But anyway, everybody at the council, they're trying to sort out what the next move and the response is going to be. Jason Baylor now, Jason said he's going to Harrenhal, which the lie detector has determined that is a lie initially. And I never believed him when he said that. He said he's gonna go talk to Damon and they're gonna try to like get him in order and whatnot and let him know about grandma dying. And I was like, sir, no, you're not. Because he's so antsy to be involved, that would serve him no purpose there. Because you're just going to another place just to have to answer to somebody else. And that's not at all what your whole plan was. So nonetheless, he quickly came around to be honest with Baylor, which I think is interesting that the two of them are very open with each other. And he says, I'm tired of sitting around, obviously being a lap puppy and all sorts of different words. He says, I'm ready to act. I'm going to the phrase, we must act. He said, don't tell her till I'm gone. So we see what his little, his antsiness is leading him to do, which we'll talk about that soon too. Anything you want to comment on there?
When he said that, I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't fuck something up. I hope he doesn't.
You know what, though? I think I'll say this, though. If Luke wasn't killed last season, I'd be way more scared about any kid going out on their own. I'm like, there's no way they're doubling down on that. There's no way. Anyway, so Damon's having a really hard episode, man. He's trying to get the Bracken. He's trying to recruit the Bracken and then essentially getting the House Bracken and the Blackwoods to play nice. But he needs Brackens to kneel because he already got the Blackwoods aligned. Listen, Sir Bracken, he not having that. He says, instead of kneeling, we'll just take fire. So cool. But I have to agree with Damon's sort of analysis of this, is saying like, we need people like that who rather succumb to fire than and then kneel, because I guess this is a level of like loyalty, saying we get them to be loyal, we'll never have to worry about them ever again. So anyway, he's just struggling to get people into Harrenhal. He's struggling to get men right now. Poor Dave.
Yeah, and it has the coolest shot of the show in that scene with the dragon right behind that Bracken guy. That was really nice. It's a really good shot.
Under no circumstances I thought he was going to set him on fire.
No.
No circumstance. I mean, it would have been, the shot was cool. It would have been amazing if they did it for the viewing purposes. But I'm like, nah, this is him. And we're seeing his predicament that he thinks he's. So initially going to Harrenhal was supposed to be like a recruitment trip. And now we know him, who's always self-serving himself, is struggling to lead. And we're seeing the struggles of him leading, just like we're seeing the struggles with Rhaenyra leading too, which I'm just going to cheat ahead and talk about one of my favorite scenes and that's where we saw them both at the fireplace, sort of in like this disarray. So it's kind of like, oh man, it's not working here. She's there in a whole nother day. She's like, oh, this isn't working. The two of them need each other.
They do. They're two halves. They do need each other. And I feel like if they do get together and everything works out, and I feel like they're unstoppable if that does happen. Like they could be,
Yeah.
they could take him out.
Yeah. All right, so we're at the Vale now, and because this is where Rhaena was sent with Prince Joffrey and the dragons and whatnot, and we're seeing a conversation between Rhaena and Lady Jane, and this is them just discussing the deal between Rhaenyra and the dragons and all that other good stuff. And Lady Jane's is basically just trying to ensure that she got her side of the bargain handled and whatnot. But there's not much here, but we're going to find out more because obviously Rhaenyra needs the soldiers. It was the deal made. She got the dragons, but Rhaena's there, and she must kind of get settled in. And it seems a little dicey right now, to say the least.
I had a feeling something like that was going to happen because, like, when she sent them off to go to the Vale or the Eyrie or wherever, I'm like, she said the little dragons there? Like, I don't think they're going to like that too much. Like, when they find out it's like the little baby dragons and not the big dragons.
Well, and if all of them will even hatch, because we know.
Yeah, not all of them are.
All right, so next scene, we got Rhaenyra and her bestie at this rate now, and Marisa. Mysaria, excuse me. Yeah, Mysaria was peeping in on the conversations last episode, so we were kind of wondering where this conversation was going to go, and she's shown nothing but value within that house and very closely to Rhaenyra. So Rhaenyra venting because it's her bestie, talking about, oh, they don't speak to me, they speak around me, and essentially, I don't know my part. The path I walk has obviously never been walked before, in other words. But with all of that and all that confusion that Rhaenyra is kind of laying down, she does. Mysaria says, well, just let you know, Kristen Cole made a mistake.
Yeah.
Because him walking around with that dragon like a prize, and everybody's looking at it the complete opposite here as an omen. And this is where she puts into perspective, like, you know, what if what you can't do, somebody else can do for you? There may be more than one way to fight a war. What did you make of that moment when she brought that statement up to her? Where do you think the light bulb started going off for Rhaenys here? Rhaenyra, excuse me.
I think it's because, like, one, Mysaria is very helpful to have because she obviously knows the people. She still has eyes and ears because she said, like, these are rumors that are going around. So she knows that this is what's happening. Like, and I feel like that because, like, Rhaenyra, like, obviously her frustration is they're not letting her go out into battle, into war, because she's the queen. You know, she dies and that's it. You know, there's nothing else. So she's giving her, again, putting the bugs in her ear, like, there's different ways to handle this war other than you just sitting here and doing nothing and having to go out there into battle. There's other ways of handling this, and I feel like that she is going to show her the ways, like, as her master of whispers. So I liked it, and I like that, you know, that they're friends. Like, you know, I said the same thing in my notes, like, oh, they're besties, like they're venting to each other, like that's how they're exactly talking, and it's good for them to have. And I feel like it's like, it, even though like I get it, like sexism, like at this time, you know, it's different because at this time, you know, that was more common back then, but I feel like they have the same frustrations, that they're overlooked because this is a patriarchal system and they're women. And I feel like they're on the same page when it comes to that. So they have understanding of each other and, you know, trying to do this as different ways so they can both achieve whatever they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, totally agree. So Baylor and Rhaenyra, they're talking about Rhaenys, and this is nothing, you know, them reminiscing about her and, you know, basically just understanding just her significance and even how she got her first dragon. This ultimately turned into Rhaenyra letting Baylor knows that, you know, I must rely on you, and they're just growing their bond. Somebody has to fill those shoes, and I think Rhaenyra understands that, and I think Baylor's a good candidate, if I must say.
Yeah, she's capable.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Damon is once again visiting Trippy Island.
It's in the Haunted Mansion.
The Haunted Mansion, yep. And he is getting gassed up by someone who we didn't know at the time. And this person who's putting all sorts of different verbiage in his head and verbiage that is stroking his ego, but also causing some real life troubles, ultimately results in the statement of my favorite son.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. And even to the point of, she kind of dulled him on the motor, like the what if is like, what if you were born first, would you have been king? But yeah, him making out with his mother, I have no comment here.
Yeah, that's super weird.
Yeah, but there's some Targaryen shit at its purest,
Yeah, like, this is normal for them. This is what they do. I mean, he did stuff with his niece, so he has kids with her, so it's normal for them. And it's also for the books. Queen Alyssa, I think it's how you say her name, and her that's who the person is supposed to be, and her dragon was also Melee's. So that's just a little fun fact for you.
Yep. Which, good point. All right, so dinner at Harrenhal, and this is nothing more but just Daemon struggling to be respected as king. Even him trying to shift the scenarios around, he just doesn't really land on that king title very seamlessly,
That's still treason. He's committing treason. Like,
yeah,
like, he's still saying, I'm king, but you're not. You're the king regent.
Yep. So yeah, getting next to Alicent, and Alicent is giving an update on Aegon on Aegon from the Grand Maester, and he states that he's not sure if he's going to wake. Aim is looking with zero emotions, and her response is like, all right, well, we need to kind of measure of damage control here. Let's get out the word of his good deed at Hook's Rest, and we must name sort of a backup here, a regent, until he recovers. And Alicent very much so names herself. Everybody else states Aemon as the successor. And and although she had her valid reasons, the things we said about earlier about his immaturity or whatnot, everybody is like, nah, it's Aemon. Even Lord Lares, who is just like, it's Aemon. And then when they asked the Hand and Kristen Cole, I was like, oh boy, here we go.
That was like their, what are we type thing right there. Like, are you on my side? Or are you on their side? And he picked the other side. I really like, also another point before we got to that scene where she was in the room with Aegon. It felt very familiar. I always feel like she's always in that position where she has to take care of a king, basically, because that's in the same room as Viserys, and she had to take care of him, and then she had to take care of the previous king before, I think, when she was a little bit younger, so she helped take care of the other king as well. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing to point out.
It's actually a really, really good point. I didn't even think of that. But Kristen Cole's like, yeah. They's like, what do you think? He's like, it's Aemon. Alicent is looking pissed. Her blood is boiling. Meanwhile, Aemon is generating ideas about the Riverland and ends that conversation by saying, cut down the rat catcher. So what was your instant sort of thought about Alicent and what was going to be the result of no one siding with her here?
First of all, that was also another scene that I liked that also had like a really cool shot where it was that long shot, like that long shot of her, not a long shot, but it was just centered on her, and you just see like the emotions in the face and stuff like that. She's going through all these different things. That's acting right there. Like that takes a lot to do. And I really like that. I also, again, it's this patriarchal system, that it's not allowing her to do it. And and they did point this out too. Because when she said, "Oh, I could be the queen regent because I have done it before," and they pointed out in the episode too, like, well, that's just the same thing that we're fighting against, because that was what Rhaenyra was gonna do. We can't do the same thing, so that part makes sense. But um, I did like that. I did like the whole scene because you got to see that whole moment with Allison where she's like really like probably going through everything in her mind that has happened so far and how she ended up here in this position. Maybe even rethinking her whole decision on making Aegon king at that moment, and just thinking about her time with Christian Cole and how he's kind of like, betraying her and stuff like that by not being on her side and everybody else. And she seems like maybe the most qualified, like wise to rule since she has done it before, but nobody's listening to her or even giving her the chance. So I thought it was good.
Yeah, I like how you took the very PG route of that. You're basically saying they made love. She thinking it's something. He's probably saying all these sweet nothings. And the moment that she needed loyalty, he didn't. The only person that was loyal to her was her dad. That's the hard truth here. And I think she's finding it out. And she's sitting here boiling. You're like, oh boy. So
that was something.
I was quickly, because I was like, I'm trying to think, did I say this earlier? And I feel like I may have, but I'll make a quick correction here. So well, first, before I even talk about that, did you agree that Aemon was the rightful selection here?
I mean, yes and no, because like, okay, I kind of figured that was going to happen anyway, because they were going to pick the male, and then technically, if we're going by Game of Thrones rules, then yes, but he would be the correct selection. Do I think he's going to be a good king? I mean, no. He's gonna be good in the sense where he knows more what he's doing than Aegon is, but he's also gonna be brutal, I feel like. So I don't think he's gonna be a good king for the people. But I really think that they should have considered Alicent, because she probably would be the most fair. But again, female, so they're not gonna let her do it.
I said it goes back to optics once again.
And it would have been the same thing, but yeah, no, I don't think Aegon's gonna be good.
I think I said this. I just want to make sure I was correcting myself. So in the last scene with Daemon and Sir Simon Strong, Sir Simon Strong is played by Sir Simon Bill. So that's the point. I think I said that Simon Bill was playing Sir Alfred.
Yes.
So little shift of that right there. But nonetheless, going to the next thing, we get Hugh and Kat. All right, folks. Hugh is the bastard brother or son, but yet half brother. And I don't know if there's nothing more we need to say about this besides they're trying to leave, and they have a sick daughter. Wife ain't happy. Neighbors stealing. There's a lot of reason for them to get out of King's Landing. Little does he know he is walking right into his fate. It's going to be interesting to hear. And what's interesting? I think he's going to be welcomed by appearance alone. They're going to question his and the fact that at the end of this, we see white. They're gonna be like, we were looking through the text for all these names, and where the hell you just show up, Pat, looking like me and whatnot. So we're gonna have to keep an eye out for Hugh and his wifey Kat and how that's going to play out, because one way or another, I think it's safe to say he's a dragon seed, and you might be the hottest commodity right now, brother. Like, I know everybody talk about dragons and protections, but somebody gotta ride them. So,
and I feel like they're doing that with all these little background characters. So I think there's somebody else too that's also in the background of King's Landing that could be one. It's a lot of blondes,
Okay.
A lot, We'll see.
That indeed application is getting burnt up right now by these potential dragon riders. So we're gonna see who actually lands the job. But we go back to the streets of King's Landing. Allison and Kristen Cole talking, and Allison questions his loyalty. And at one point, I said, I think she's questioning his loyalty to her.
Yeah,
but she's just questioning his loyalty in general because he is flippy floppy, as you mentioned, and it is very hard to tell where he kind of lies. But I will give him one small bit of grace. I think my man done seen war, and he had his chest puffed out like he was the man, trying to son Sir Gawain, and the fact that he was in there and he's seen it firsthand, I think that messed him up.
Yeah, he's in over his head, and I think he didn't realize that until he saw it.
Yeah, so I think he's at the point now where he's like, all right, I think I was kind of asking for this, but maybe I wasn't really like about that life. So
yeah, it's different.
It's real out there, especially when you see your homies burnt to crisp. You go tap them on the shoulder, and it's like, yeah, no,
just disintegrate. Like Thanos, just dusting everybody type thing. Crazy. And also his life is at stake too. He's gonna be out there doing some fighting too. So he could easily just get burnt like the rest of them, because dragons don't care. At the end of the day, they're just big reptile cats.
Yeah.
Do whatever.
We also forget the narrative too, that once this starts going, we can't turn them off.
Yeah,
and that's the low key thing that everybody's kind of forgetting, is that we who it doesn't matter who got who at what point. Even to the point of Vhagar, I could imagine there's a scenario where he's just having so much fun and just destroying things that when there's nothing else, where does he turn to? Well, home, of course.
Yeah,
right on King's Landing steps. So. All right, so now we are with Jace and his dragon, and we see he is at House of Frey, and he's trying to bargain a deal because he's trying to make his mama proud. Can't even blame him. But as I mentioned earlier, the real fear in these streets ain't got anything to do with Aemon or Aegon. It ain't got anything to do with Rhaenyra. People's just like, all right, now whose side is Vhagar on? Because that's what we're on, But in return, they want protection, and Jace is brokering the deal. Said, yeah, we'll offer you protection and the protection of my uncle. And then they said, okay, but wait a minute. Well, what about, because we also know that Larys no longer has his castle. So what about Harrenhal? And he was like, we basically stuck his cup out for wine. I would say that's like a deal, I guess.
Yeah.
But it says in return, you must bend the knee to Rhaenyra. So that helps with soldiers. It's more proactive than Daemon and what he's able to do. But it also takes Daemon's castle that he's unaware of has just been monopolized. Here. This is truly the game of Monopoly. And Daemon is... Here's how I look at this. If he doesn't know by now, his house is not a good place. It's what you call, if you buy a bad car, they call it a lemon, right?
Yeah.
This is that right now. He understanding that what, and honestly, it's interesting because they could really sell it like it's a great thing. I get it's one of the biggest castles, but it serves them no value in the war because there's no men attached to it. So if they're able to give up the castle in return for the soldiers, this is a great deal. Jace is definitely, he gets the check in the good column here, but Daemon's not going to be happy because I don't think he's going to see that. And also,
no,
it will be interesting if he did come around. He was like, you know what? I don't need that. Let's do the deal. But that's not who he is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Daemon's always been self-interested in himself, so he's done that before. Where he'll take, like, he did that to last season too. I feel like he was where he crowned himself Prince of the something, like at the Isles or something. He crowned himself with a land that was like basically not part of the Seven Kingdoms. So he crowned himself Prince over that because he wants to be heir or something. He wants to be king. Yeah. So he's definitely done that before, and he's doing it again with Harrenhal now. So it's gonna be interesting to see now that Jace gave it away to somebody else. So it's gonna be And nobody knows what he's doing out there, so they don't even know if he's there or not. They don't even know if he's
That,
there or is somewhere else. No one knows.
yep. Yep.
So, and Damon's very set on that. I like that he is going to try. I really think he's going to try to take this throne. Like, I really do.
I think they're going to realize they need each other one way or another, and that should. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know. But speaking of Damon's back hearing things in bed because what else is happening there? He's not hearing. He's not in bed in this one. He's just hearing things because the walls are always talking. But it's Alice Rivers and her trickery. This is she's always talking in riddles, but I think what to really make of this is that she almost further confirms that Damon's whole goal is going to King's Landing, and as he even said, like he'll go to King's Landing and he'll be reunited with his wife, and they'll rule side by side with him as the king. But there's also some low shots thrown in there because she takes that shot about his mother or whatnot. Yeah. But even with all that's happening, Sir Simon Strong comes in and says that the Blackwoods have the Blackwoods have overwhelmed the Brackens. House of Bracken is yours, so it looks like a win there. But more of that to come. Coral and Baela, this is the interesting one because Baela lets her grandfather know, like, Rhaenyra wants to name you her hand, and I think the best way to sum this scene up is that granddaughter Baela is like letting her grandpa know, like, you need to come off your BS and you need to show up.
Yeah.
Your wife, she was much more than you are giving her credit for right now. And even talk about the other times of him disappearing when needed. Say, nah, I know you. I mean, listen, honestly, I think if this was any other more recent drama in a different era, she probably would have got backhanded because she was out of line how she was holding her grandfather accountable, rightfully so. But the response ain't always what we think it is. It's a little bit of more like, girl, who you talking to? But no, she laid him out straight, man. And I think it is this is sort of the response that I thought in Rhaenys' death is that he's going to have to come to terms that he is more valuable and needed than he's willing to give himself for. And he loved this girl and he saw all her might and power that she was able to do. But I think I feel like Baela is kind of saying, like, you kind of got to live in that legacy for her too, man. You kind of got to like make this meaningful. Agreed. This was a short scene that is super powerful, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's super. It is.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was really powerful too. I think it was definitely needed because, like, after the death, and he's just standing there, he's just kind of like done with the whole thing. Like, he was like, why do I need to be her hand? Hasn't she asked to be enough for me and my family right now? And also, it's not only Rhaenys, but they also don't know what happened to their son as well, because they still think that Laenor is dead. So it's like they're like, in his head, they are asking for a lot, and so far he hasn't really gotten anything from it. Like, he's losing people. And I do like that Baela had to talk some sense into him and be like, this is what Rhaenys would have wanted. She wanted to die like a dragon rider, just like her mom did, or Baela's mom did, and that's how she wanted to go out. And she wants to see Rhaenyra ascend to the throne, just like how her mother would have, like her grandmother would have, the queen who never was. So I liked it, and it was a good way to get him to get back into their side. So I think it was really good.
Yep. So Rhaenyra and Sir Alfred, and Rhaenyra comes clean.
Oh yeah, we forgot to add, she also he named her the heir.
Oh, that's right.
Driftmark, and she was like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to be heir Driftmark. Which it makes me feel bad for Rhaena a little bit, because it's like, what are they planning to do with her?
Nothing. Not a dragon, not a throne, just chilling. Babysitter. That's her job right now.
Yes.
But maybe her whole situation with what's her name? Maybe
Jane Aaron.
Yeah, maybe that sparks something in her. Maybe there's a response from this toughness from her. So I don't know, but right now, yeah, she's down bad in the saga of them thrones. She ain't proving no relevance right now, but babysitting.
Yep.
Poor her.
Rhaena.
So Rhaenyra and Sir Alfred, as I mentioned, she tells Sir Alfred, "You're correct," and our best hope is her army is with Daemon. She realizes that Daemon has to be the face of the army, but she sends Sir Alfred to Harrenhal because she says that we gotta figure out what he's up to over there, and we cannot challenge King's Landing without the Riverlands. And then he says, "Well, what do you want me to tell him?" Say, "I want to finish our last conversation." So back to Daemon and his bad dreaming again. Sir Simon comes in, said the Riverlords have come here and they wish to speak now, and talks about the complications there and what the Blackwoods did to the Bracken. So basically, they just disrespected everything about that deal. They say it would have been different if we just lost and we had to bend the knee, but nah, they stole, they messed with our sacred grounds and whatnot. So they're like, hell nah, we're not raising our banner for no tyrant. And even while that's happening too, this again is Daemon seeing his old wife. So I think this is, I don't know, maybe this is his safe space where he's just like, when he's really in disarray, that's where he defaults to. But even with that, as I mentioned, he leans over the fireplace, and then the next scene we see Rhaenyra also leaning over the fireplace, and we just see two people trying to figure out what his leadership looks like. I really, really loved how they shot these scenes back to back.
Oh yeah, really, really good. Definitely. I also like to see, I wonder, because oh my god, I totally forgot, but I could also maybe kind of see like his old wife maybe being like the good part of his subconscious a little bit, if he has one, I could see it, like, because I can't remember what exactly happens, but I could totally see her kind of like being the good part of his subconscious there.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see.
All right. So King's Landing, it is raining heavily, and we see Alinda, who is trying to run an errand for Lady Mysaria, who they thought was dead. She's talking to Sir Gawain right here, right?
I don't think it's Sir Gawain.
Okay, she's talking to somebody as she's trying to get out the gate.
I thought it was just like a regular Night's guy.
Okay, or I don't know, somebody, Sir Gawain, somebody, I don't know, somebody directs her, who they thought that Mysaria was dead, and directs her to another path, and then Alinda ends up going to a door, and we don't see anything else of this right now.
Yeah, I think we did not touch on this, but I do like it is interesting to see how King's Landing is dealing with this, because there is a certain part of the scene, one of the scenes, where everyone's trying to get out of King's Landing.
Yeah.
And they are like, and they're forcing them to stay in there, and there's no food, and stuff like that. Nobody knows what's going on, and everyone's scared, because now basically King's Landing is just trapped in a stone area where a dragon could just come there and destroy them all. So
hey, did you just call that a fire hazard?
Yeah. It's a fire hazard or trap.
All right, Fire Marshal Stevie in the building tonight.
Yep. And it's like it's just interesting to see, because like it's interesting to see like this board between these two families that is very petty, that could be petty between them. It's having such an effect on the little people.
Yeah.
That are overlooked. So interesting.
Yeah. All right. So next we see Corals looking at the hand pendant. Aemon looking at the Iron Throne, with Helena coming in saying, was it worth price to him? Aegon is struggling. Alicent's looking on. Jace is back with Rhaenyra, and this scene is so insanely good. We see Rhaenyra who's looking through text and kind of doing her homework here, preparing for war and whatnot, but obviously looking at some historical things to kind of get some inspirations by one looking at Vhagar's first rider, who was a female, which Jace says don't get any ideas, but Jace reports her back to everything that he was able to do with the phrase. Said the phrase won Harrenhal, said she was proud of him, but obviously she didn't look excited. Jace questioned it, but it's because she's frustrated. He knows frustration very well because Rhaenyra's holding him back, but she's also being held back too. So they're like, all right, well, but they start to really lay out the serious issues with the success of the victory of the war. They don't have an answer for Vhagar. Although this is Cyrax is quicker, even though Vhagar is bigger.
Yeah.
And she called it what it was. And I think this is something that I would have said on the show regardless, is that we got to be honest here. Meleys, she was given, Meleys is let's say it's a girl, we'll go with that. Yeah. Was given that wreck out, but she had to fight 2 dragons.
Yeah.
Odds wasn't in her favor. So let's call it what it is. Vhagar isn't untouchable, so there's a little bit of optimism on that note, right? Yeah. But then she says, this is interesting too. I was wondering why she said it in this way. She says, I need dragons. So I was like, now you have dragons, but I think you need battle strategy. But then my man Jace comes through with the most clutch play and idea of the entire episode. That means Christian Cole, you can suck it. You usually have the good ideas and you didn't. Otto, you know where to be found. So you don't count right now. Aemon kind of was coaching things up, but you don't get credit for it. But he says, like, we have Verlamoth and Silverwing. We just need riders. Yes. We just need riders.
Yeah.
And she was like, and then he questioned, was like, but what about these? What's the easiest way to put this out? These other children that we set out there and abandoned because they wasn't either purebred or they had a different name.
Nice way to say bastards.
Bastards, exactly. And yeah, as they said, children born with other names. We need dragon. And they say, I mean, this is the easiest way to understand. Like, if you fall under these particular qualifications, you need dragon lords to ride them, which means you just have to be of descent of the bloodline. And us right now, we're like the viewers, we're like the Avengers. Like, shit, we got two black homies ready to go over there in Driftmount. We got my man trying to get out of King's Landing. Little days know he go home. I mean, hell, give Rhaena a little go here if need be. They're never gonna give her, but like there's
I hope so.
Possibilities out there.
There is, and there is more dragons that they haven't referenced. There's like wild dragons in this universe. So there's a few, but I don't remember their names. But there's a few out there, so they could get more.
Yeah.
They mention it.
Yeah. Gonna be interesting. But that's it. That's it. It says I think this is really going to be interesting. And I can't wait to see how they're going to play this out. You have any other thoughts with this?
Nah, I think we covered all of it. It's just an overall good, interesting episodes. We only have 3 more, right? Now?
Yep. 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 more. Yeah. Yep. So, and they got a lot of homework to do in those books, man. They're gonna have to go through all those texts and figure out those different lines of folks, and they're gonna have to send out the bird calls, send out them ravens, and feel like, hey, we're looking for a random Joe Smo. They're gonna be like, wait, what? Why?
Right? And Sea Smoke's still out there. Lenore is still out there too. That's another one. So if he didn't die, so we'll see.
That's right. You've been asking for Sea Smoke. You want him
to give there. Yes.
You're right.
Yeah, definitely is.
Anyway, that'll do it. Let us know your thoughts about episode 5. This was a very exciting episode. Really can't wait to get to episodes. I mean, I want every episode, but I really can't wait to see what happens after this. Now that they're about to put together the Avengers Initiative now.
Right?
That was Nick Fury and Tony Stark's at the bar. And it's like, well, we got this idea. Go to the director here.
That really is.
So, but yeah, thank y'all all for watching tonight. Our recap. We'll be back next week for more House of the Dragon conversation here at Big Gold Belt Media. Appreciate you coming through.